Head of the line. You don't have to be part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at itstory@gmail.com and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/VinandSori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch, indeed, a child shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener, yes, dear listener.
We're back.
We're back. We have
again.
We have returned.
Doesn't it look kind of smoky, like we didn't clean the screen?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can, if you're obsessed with it, you can go and do the screen.
No, because I know what will happen. Some other tragedy will befall me if I do. I've learned.
All right, guys, we have quite the doozy for you beautiful people. We're going to give it some time, but we've got quite the doozy. So this is a fireside.
Yep.
Generally, we don't have an agenda with fireside. But Soraya and I were watching this, and some discussions came up, and I said, you know what? I do think this would be a good one for the people to help us out with. And you are the people, and so we're going to employ you and deploy you to help us out, to help us think this one through, because this one is incredible.
Yes. Probably some of you have heard about it, but if you haven't, you're about to.
Yeah. This is probably the biggest public school, private, homeschool apologetic we're going to give in a very, very long time. But it is good to be around you beautiful people. We are going to be covering the case of Christina Formella, I believe her name is. Formella, that's right, Formella. So we are going to be covering her case. It's a very interesting case study, and one of the things I really wanted to talk about was one, the concept of abuse of power in certain segments of society, and two, the real question I have is, are men and women treated equally in the court of law and the court of public opinion? So that's what I wanted to talk about with y'all. Let's see if this works. All right, guys. I know that jam, Chicago Scene. Yes, that's the Chicago Scene 88 thingamajiggy. I just found out why they use it, because it's free. it's royalty free on YouTube, so you don't get jammed up by the fascists.
Yep.
All right, so after Soraya lets our folks know on Patreon that we're up, we're going to take right off and go straight into this peculiar case. Let me say it that way. We will be giving the link so you can get on video with us, on video chat with us, and make things happen. You can come on and share your opinion as to what you think went on, as to what you think the right thing to do is, etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
You've got that up there?
That is up there.
Excelente. All right, here you go. We are live.
I was going to use my curling iron, but I forgot to, and now it's still just running as fast.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
Let me not burn down our home.
Yeah, we could have died. We'd have died. So I'm glad to see everybody here. We're going to be taking off shortly. Good Lord. Give me a second.
How are they going to call in? Do you have a plan for that?
Yeah. It's, you just put a link in there.
Oh.
And problem solved.
It's that simple. Do you want this light back on?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Good, sir.
Yes, I do, ma'am. All right, guys, here we are.
Isn't this such a cute skirt Vincent got me?
Yeah, I do think it's a cute skirt. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ian in the house. Applejack's in the house. This is excellent. Disabled Kane in the house. Good to see you, Disabled Kane. I think we had a little conversation.
Are you going to be up on Rumble too?
No, not up on Rumble.
You won't be?
Will not.
Okay.
This is exclusive to our YouTube audience. All right, guys. So we're gonna start the discussion by playing you guys the clip. We're gonna talk about it. What's up, Ian? We've got a very interesting situation to talk about, Ian, and we are going to get everybody's input, and people are actually going to be able to call in and tell us their take on it, because it's a doozy. All right, here we go. Let's go to video number one. Video number one will give us a brief breakdown of what happened, and then we'll just go right into it. Here we are. Let's go here. That's the wrong video. Of course it is. Of course we did not title them.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
All right, you guys. I don't know if anybody. I'm actually going to put up a poll and see if anybody is familiar with this.
Let them know I love them.
That's true. We really don't know if people are familiar with this situation, so we're gonna have to check it out.
Engage with your audience. Start a poll.
I cannot find that thing for the life of me.
I want to know.
Babe, when you download those things, I need you to title them.
Yeah.
Because now the thing is lost. See, we got 1, 2, 3. Let's go to downloads. Let me go to downloads.
Which one are you trying to get?
I think I got it. All right, guys, here we go. Here we go. Here's the situation.
An alleged sexual relationship with a student.
WGN's Brona Tumulty is live for us in Downers Grove with more. Brona?
Good evening, guys. A teacher and coach here at the school was detained in a traffic stop Sunday afternoon, arraigned this morning, and now facing charges of aggravated criminal sexual abuse and criminal sexual assault. Now, the minor at the centre of this is a current student at the high school. Formella has been teaching in the Special Services Department since 2020 and on the coaching staff for both boys and girls since August of 2021. Now, court documents show the minor victim and the mother of that victim arrived at the police department on Saturday to make a report after text messages of a sexual nature came to light, allegedly between the minor and Formella. The teenager, according to the court, then stating after a flirtatious relationship via text, he and Formella had sex in a classroom at the high school once in December of 2023 when he was 15. Formella was aged 28 at that time. Now, after taking Formella into custody yesterday, it's understood a lengthy notes entry obtained on her iPhone appears to reference a relationship with the teenager, stating amongst other things, "We will never ever be together again. I'm not a second choice. I'm the best thing you'll ever have, even with all of my mistakes." Formella adamantly denies having sex with the victim, telling detectives, per the court documents, that everybody comes after her because she is good looking and she is just a good person who cared too much, whilst reportedly adding she knew her relationship was wrong but was unable to stop it. Now, when questioned further about the notes on her phone, Formella reportedly told detectives any reference to sex was specifically regarding her husband, and that the text messages found on the victim's phone had been sent by the victim to her phone himself as a form of blackmail. Meanwhile, the school has said they'll be reaching out to the families of students who had direct contact with this teacher and coach, and of course parents are welcome to reach out to the school authorities here as well. There's also a board meeting at the Board of Education this evening, and we too will be present for that. Well, I have Downers Grove, Brona Tumulty, WGN News.
All right, Brona, thank you. We do.
All right. So that is the summary. Miss Formella, or Forelli, whatever her name is a special ed teacher. Formella. She makes $88,000 a year, by the way.
That's what one of the people speaking about it was saying.
I thought we were underselling our teachers. I did not know that our teachers were making 88 grand a year. I mean, in this economy, it doesn't mean you're rich, but I mean, for God's sake, that's not really something to protest about. But that's something different. That's something different. Raul says, teachers sleeping with students has been going on for decades. Several of my high school teachers were sleeping with students, and this was back in the 80s. Yeah, so I get it. We have other information that states the initial contact, as they said, when she was 28, which was 2 years ago, which would make this young man 13 years old at the time of the first interaction. On top of that, she was 28 when that started, and he was 13. He is currently 15 years old, and apparently she was his after-school tutor. So she's a special ed teacher, and he was struggling even in special ed, and so she was helping him after school, and that's where their relationship began and blossomed, or whatever you want to say. So I get what Raul is saying. Teachers have always been doing this with students. I get it. But this was a particularly interesting situation for me and you, because as we were talking, because one of the things that I want to talk through is, are women treated differently by the legal system and in the court of public opinion when they're on the wrong end of these stories? Or do you guys think that it's just even across the board and everybody's just, innocent until proven guilty, all the rest of it? When I was 15, I do not believe I would have said no to her. 13 couldn't have stopped me either. Yes, that's one of the interesting things that happens when these stories come out. If it's a dude teacher, everybody kind of universally says, you disgusting PDF file.
Yeah.
I just realized how brilliant that was, PDF
Oh,
file.
I thought that you heard it somewhere. You just came up with it on the spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Oh. I've heard it from other people. I just didn't really realize how brilliant it was. It's just, he's a PDF file, and then the girls go down and say, what a disgusting, horrible, whatever, right? But when the roles are reversed, you'll mostly see dudes say, well, for context, when this woman says, people are going after me because I'm pretty, I mean, look, this is her mugshot, okay? She's no sorry. She's, I personally believe she's demonized, but she's not fat and ugly. And so this right here to me is such an interesting case, because then I'm like, what the hell is going through this woman's mind?
And the other thing,
I don't understand the psychology
from the
here.
documentation that you saw, but I heard a number of people say that she had gotten married 6 months prior.
Yeah.
To her, apparently her college sweetheart, which I don't know how.
Yeah.
Why do they keep doing that?
There are people out there who will say the teacher did nothing wrong, the boy wanted it, but if it was a girl and a male teacher, they would crucify him. I mean, that is, the dynamic, and that's what Sori and I were talking about before we jumped in and had the conversation, was that, these situations tend to not get held to the same standard by society. And what do you guys think? What do you think the reason for that is? Because we've got the actual video of her getting arraigned and arrested and stuff, so that's coming soon. But go ahead.
No, you were going to ask me a question. What was the question you were going to ask?
Well, why do you think people do that? Why do you think they react differently when it's the teacher who's assaulting the student, especially if it's an attractive teacher essaying the student?
It's a female over and against a male teacher.
Correct.
I think, my assumption is that there's a power dynamic between men and women that, okay, so if you have a male teacher and a female student, there is a certain power dynamic. I think there's a power dynamic regardless of the sex of the teacher, but it just seems to me like...
You think that a male teacher has more power
over a female student.
Over a female student than a female teacher does over a male student? How?
Well, just
in what way?
I mean, you have physical strength that the male teacher is going to be a lot stronger than the female student. There's I think the fear element that generally speaking most females have with adult men, as in like what they could do or where things could go, where I don't know, like, does a teenage boy feel like uncomfortable around his female teacher? I have never heard women or teenagers or females explain that they feel a certain way around, especially if it's like a man that is predatory in nature. But most times that it's talked about in public opinion, you always see, I mean, we saw it in our comment section here where, you know, guys will say, well, I mean, I would have stopped it, especially if the teacher is attractive. So it looks more like the student was complicit in the action, but I don't condone it at all. I mean, this woman is 30 years old and he's 15. To me, I can't, like...
Yeah, I completely disagree with your predatory male teacher, physically stronger, cowering 16-year-old girl is afraid to resist him. That's not how those things go in public school. And you didn't...
I didn't go to public school, so...
I went to public school in New York. Teachers messing with students, so we had male teachers messing with students. And I won't talk much about the female teacher, but the male teacher was with, and yeah, she was 15, 16, same age. And it was a statutory issue. In other words, he was 30-something, she was 15, but she wanted to be with him. Like, she was dressing up for him, all the rest of it. It wasn't one of those things where, like, he was forcing her and all the rest of it. When I say it's statutory, I don't want to make it sound like she was consenting, because I don't believe that a 15-year-old in this context, in this culture, can consent. Like, that's what I mean by statutory. So it's not really like that with dudes when the dude is messing with the female student.
Okay.
It's what I saw was this girl had no dad.
That's
daddy issues.
The other thing I was going to bring up.
You know, that kind of thing, and so she was vulnerable, and she was very attractive. She was extremely attractive. So, yeah, it was one of those things, man. And the crazy thing is, like, all of us knew what was going on. None of us reported it. None of us, you know, whatever. Like, and obviously, for the dudes, when they were messing with a teacher, it was like a complete spike of the football. Like, yo.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I definitely see the difference there, but I'm still not particularly certain of why we have that differentiation, other than probably our assumptions about men and women. I'm sorry, I'm talking too long.
I think another thing is when you talk, this is going to probably be controversial, but because anybody who's been sexually assaulted will say, my body reacted, I didn't necessarily want it. Like, a lot of times people will say that, and there's a lot of guilt and shame that comes as a result of your body reacting to something. But I think that a lot of times it is also looked at it like that as well, because just talking in a physical nature of that situation, one person is going into somebody else's space while another one, you see what I'm saying? Like, where a man
I don't know
what you're saying. Because for a girl to be assaulted or raped, the man is entering her body, where the other one is it's outside, so she goes in. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's the physical nature of the intrusion, where I think a lot of times if a male is sexually assaulted, it's not looked at as seriously, because people are like, well, how could that have happened unless their body was reacting, which I don't think is fair, because, you know, as we said before, like, sometimes the body reacts to something and it doesn't mean that you want that. It just means, you know, if I sniff up some pepper when I'm cooking and I sneeze, that's what happens, you know?
Right.
Oh, yeah, I'll get that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's also kind of what Ian was saying. Ian says it's hard to communicate in a short message, but it essentially comes down to the underlying social zeitgeist. That men are predatory, whereas women are nurturing and safe. That coupled with the idea that boys are sexual in nature, whereas women are chaste. So the boy would like it, whereas a pure girl would have it forced on her to the perception that it's different. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, especially in special ed. Like you're gonna have the assumption that the female teacher is particularly nurturing, right? You're gonna assume that the female teacher is more nurturing than normal than
because she took that position.
Because she took this position. She's also the soccer coach for men's and women's soccer. Larry says he endured that as well. Not necessarily a teacher, but he says, I was on heroin, I couldn't say no or yell for help, and I had home issues also. Good Lord.
See, that is one of the things that, like, when we're going to get into some of the messages between them, but, like, even, like, the language that they were using is just very uncomfortable to me.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the language. Yeah. We've got actual copies of what the exchanges were. Some of the exchanges we just decided not to publish because we just don't need the detail, because the fact of the matter is we're talking about a 15-year-old child. And this shit started at 13. So that's another thing to me that was really interesting, where I was listening to this woman talk about the explicit detail of this act. And I'm like, would that be like that if the roles were reversed? Would they go into the details of this person took off this person's legging, this person undid the jeans? Like, it was a very, very detailed. I'm like, this is a child. But because it's a male child, it seems like this is okay. Nobody's truly outraged. I think everybody is like looking at, I'm like investigating my own emotions too. I think everybody's looking at this like this is like wrong on principle, but we don't have, it doesn't seem we have that visceral sort of reaction if the roles were reversed.
I agree with that. I think, like, when I look at the details, like, well, first of all, when I first saw the video, I thought she was like early 20s, and that, you know, it didn't say really anything about the kid at that point.
Yeah, and he's
so
like,
I was
18,
he's probably
19.
like 2 days away from 18, you know, and while I still think it's extremely inappropriate for a teacher to have a relationship like that with a student, I just thought, well, you know, the age thing is, but then when you start looking into it and you're like, no, she's like 30. And he's 15. Like, that means, like you said, like, when she was about to start driving a car, he wasn't even walking yet. Like,
what do you mean? He was just born.
Well, no, if she was 16...
15 years apart. She
right,
could have got
she was 16, then he would have been about 1, ready to start walking. Yeah, that's just crazy.
It depends on what her birthday was. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this is crazy.
Very inappropriate.
Yeah, and...
It's uncomfortable, especially, like, as a mom, like... That's just... I don't understand how you don't see that person as a child. I do wonder, actually, if she has any children, because I have noticed there's like an uptick in certain places of people preferring to have a dog over and against having children, and so I don't know if that, like, makes you not realize how weird what you're doing is.
I could see,
like, when you have kids and then the person is like your kid's age,
and the kid's hitting a growth spurt.
Yes, right? Because, like, literally, like, one day, our son was, like, it seemed smaller than me, and then, like, it literally felt like it was, like, overnight. All of a sudden, like, he would scare me because he would come around the corner, and I'm, like, in my head, I'm, like, that's not Vin, and so I feel ready to, like, I'm gonna get in an altercation here because there's a man in my house, but it's, you know, it's our 16-year-old, so, like, he's big, but he's 16. It's just...
Yeah, and
I would be furious.
It's interesting because when a girl is showing signs of puberty, it usually is observed through the development of, you know, the sex characteristics, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas when a dude hits puberty, it usually has to do with his height and his build, and he's facial hair and walking into his man body. So yeah, like that's a real practical sort of thing where if you are a 30-year-old woman and you don't have any children, and then you see this guy that's taller than you, his voice is deepening, he's got facial hair,
but you
don't understand that you're still talking to a child.
Yeah, very weird. The other thing that I think is, if you look at like different teenagers, and then you say to yourself, okay, if this one engaged in a relationship like that, or if this one did, I would be much more upset if this one did. Even if both of them are, let's say both of them are male. Like, there are certain males that I think are more almost mature in a situation. Like, I'm not going to go into... Yeah. But then there are other teenagers where I'm like, if that happened to that one, I'd be way more upset, because it seems... when you know, like, the teenagers themselves, like, it seems like it would be way more predatory to go after one of them, even though they're both predatory. But, like, as the mom in the situation, when she started reading the messages and she knows her own kid, like, she sees him still leaving the messes in the bathroom, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, she still sees the kid side of him.
He doesn't wipe his
he's
nose.
Trying to be, like, he's trying to be all grown up around, you know, at school and around the teacher and stuff, like, but she's still seeing, I'm telling you, man, I would be furious. I would be furious if somebody did something like this, any one of our kids, man. But when I saw the video and I saw, like, her in the back of the cop car, I was, like, feeling like, oh my gosh, because she looks so, like just like a regular, like, sometimes people, like, when they get in the back of the cop car, you're like, yeah, looks like it fits. But she didn't look like she, like, necessarily fit in that situation, and she looked just as shocked, even though she was doing criminal behavior. But she'd been doing it for multiple years, so she probably thought she was just gonna keep getting away with it. And then all of a sudden they showed up, man.
White woman in distress. Here we go, guys.
Okay, we watching it.
We're gonna actually show you guys the actual body cam footage of
I feel bad for her husband.
Them jamming her up. So yeah, that's the other part of this, is that you've got a husband who recently married this woman who was cheated on. I mean,
I know.
And
so early in their...
like,
apparently they were like college sweethearts and stuff.
How long was it into their...
Every time they give me the information, then they pull it away.
Well, you're on GPT, T. That's why you got to variegate it.
Grok?
What's up, Director Franco? Good to see you, baby. I would go to Perplexity.
Is that on here?
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Let's check it out. No, I don't know where you got that Jacob was in his 80s or 90s when he married Rachel and Leah. Jacob was a young man when he fled from his brother Esau. He worked 7 years for Laban for both of them, essentially 14 years. If you get me the passage you're thinking about, if he was in his 70s or 80s, I'd like to see it. Okay. So what would you have done if you discovered this? Would you have gone to the police? What would you have done?
Okay, well, you have to ask there's two questions. Are you around, or am I by myself?
Yeah, because I don't hear you don't hear anything about the boy's dad.
Yeah.
You hear that the mom intercepted these things. I don't know what happened. And this also goes to the conversation, like, on the side, like, as a parent of teenagers, do you have the right to go through their phones?
Well, apparently she was setting up his new phone.
Oh.
And that's how it happened.
Oh. But my question still stands, though, because if it wasn't for that little accident in the moment, she would have never found out.
Yeah, because you still have to go into the text messages.
Right.
To find that.
Right. So, like, there's this thing, and I keep watching it, and again, it's all people that don't have children themselves. They keep saying, you need to trust your child, and your child knows who they are as a person, and your child this, and these parents think that they know better for their child than the child. And it's like, what are you guys talking about? A lot of the people saying that don't have children. Kids don't know what the hell they're doing. There's a reason that 13-year-olds can't get cars. There's a reason for a lot of that. Look, none of that. I don't do it right now, because I'm not sensing anything with our kids. But I would absolutely go through their phone if I thought something was going on. And if you don't like it, you can, like, I think parents really got to understand, like, yo, there are a lot of pitfalls that your kids fall into. And this whole principle of I'm going to trust my kid is crazy.
Yeah.
They're going through puberty. There's YouTube. They're under all of these influences. And the idea that you're going to respect their privacy as if they were an adult is crazy to me. Like, your kids are kids. This was like the first time this came into my mind was during the whole Columbine situation. And these kids were building homemade bombs. They had artillery, all type of shit in their basement or their garage or something like that. And everybody was like, how did the parents not know this?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's like, no, you don't have any right to privacy. That's not the Constitution. It's not a democracy over here.
Yeah. I think, like back in the day, it was like, okay, what are they putting in their journal? Is there anything underneath their bed in a box? You know what I'm saying? Like, there wasn't a lot of variations, but it does seem like now that there's so much that your kids can get into, and like for a parent like me, where I don't really like being online. It's a soul sucker for me. I don't really enjoy it. Where you're more knowledgeable in platforms and things that are going on. Like, I do think sometimes, like, my kids could be, like, in the middle of something and I wouldn't necessarily know. But then I think to myself, actually, there's a lot of things that I've been able to catch just from having conversation with them, because that's my stronger thing. Like, when I'm sit down and talk to them, be like, oh, well, what's that? And watch their eyes, because sometimes they look a little, then I'm like, well, what's going on with you? And then you get information, and if you can build on that relationship, because the facts are, you're not going to be able, your kids will always be your kids. It doesn't matter how old they get, they're going to be your kids. And you're not going to be able to dig through their phones when they're in their 20s or when they move out of the house. So if you capitalize on building that relationship with them, so that way they communicate and they talk with you, and this is something that I'm still working on with my kids, is then you have something, because you don't necessarily need to go doing something that you're not going to be able to do the rest. You got to build on something that's actually the majority of their life they're going to be out of your house. So I think we have a good sort of balance, because you're also relational with them, but you're more knowledgeable as far as platforms and what people are doing on whatever. But yeah,
Riv
okay,
says,
so
I think it depends. Go
ahead. You can read Riv's, then I'll answer the question.
I think it depends. What specifically am I concerned with? I know I'd want to know what they're looking at online, but why not talk with them, ask them questions? Talking to your kids might help more. Well, what we're talking about specifically is this current case where we had a 30-year-old teacher having a sexual relationship with a 15-year-old child, and the way that the mom, and this relationship actually began when the child was 13 years old. The way that the mom found out was that she was updating his iPhone, and that's how she ended up intercepting the messages. If she didn't update the iPhone, presumably this relationship would have continued. And so...
Well, no.
Go ahead.
Because you hear, well, we're going to get into it, but there was some...
The relationship would have continued.
In some way, shape, or form.
The relationship would have continued, I promise you. We're gonna read what she says in a second, but the relationship would have continued. My point is, she accidentally found the text messages because she was updating her child's phone. There are things that I was doing. I never told my mother. My mother went to her grave never knowing that I took weapons to school. Right? Like, she never went through my book bag. She never... See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if she did... she would have,
Yeah.
she would have found things. So that's what I'm talking about, is that when you're around 14, 15, 16, you're not particularly sane, especially if you're going through puberty. Good night.
So to answer your question, if I ran into a situation like that, I'd immediately go to you. That would be first. If you weren't in the picture, though, a couple of things I would do. That's a tough one, because there's kind of two paths that I would take. One, it really depends on which one of my kids it was. So,
Agreed. Agreed.
for both our male and female children. It depends on which kid it is. There are some of them where I feel like I'm going straight to the police on this because, but then there are other ones where I'd be asking a lot of questions to find out what's going on. But still, I'm still prosecuting the woman regardless. I just don't know, like, yeah. I mean, I would definitely legally go after her. If the teacher was early 20s and my kid was almost 18, I'm still...
It depends.
I'm having a conversation with my kid, finding out what's going on. But this woman was married, newly married. Like, this whole situation is crazy.
Yeah.
So, look, you can only ask 2 questions and then you have to do all this?
No, you gotta log in. Okay, so here is the actual, or, what do you call it, detention video. If anybody is versed in the law, I had a question here. I'll show you guys in a second. Here we go.
Let him know I love what looks to be her. Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Officer Guzman with Downers Grove. Do you have your license on you?
Yes. Tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna explain. I'm sure you're confused. I'll explain everything to you. You're Christina?
Yes.
Okay, Christina, do me a favor. Can you step out of the car for me? I know you're confused. I'll explain everything to you. You don't have anything on you? You can just grab whatever you need.
Whatever I need.
Yeah, whatever you need. Like your phone, your purse, go ahead and grab it.
Is she going somewhere? Or?
Yeah, we're gonna explain everything to you guys.
Yeah, she's going somewhere.
Go ahead and grab it out. We're not going anywhere right now. Yeah, of course, yeah.
I heard at this point...
I don't understand what's going on here.
I get it, yeah. You can go grab your...
that the reason that the cop said grab everything that you need is, and your phone, he mentioned, was so that way she would take it down to the station, and which would make it easier for them to get into it.
Smart.
Yep.
Those cops, man, they're very, very intelligent.
Yeah, and they use like all this like calm, like they're being friendly with her, like, no, you know, we'll explain everything, and he doesn't explain anything.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. We continue.
Thanks.
Can he come with me?
Yes. You stay there right for right now, sir. Just stay there, but yes, you can. But come on back here.
Should I shut the car off?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Somehow, I don't know who published this video, but her face is visible, and they blanked out his face, which I thought was a very nice little thingamajiggy.
Yeah.
They're presumably like in front of their house right now.
Yeah.
Goes off. Okay. Let's right back over here. So, we do have an investigation going on. We have to talk to you about it at the police department, okay? So we're going to explain everything to you there. It's not my investigation. I don't know the full details. We do have to bring you there, though, okay? So I do have to put you in handcuffs and bring you to the police department. Just a Downers Grove.
Handcuffs?
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
I'm like willing to go with you.
I get it, yeah. Unfortunately, we have to do it that way. So do me a favor. We just take this off.
Can I ask you
Of course, yeah. It's not, like I said, it's not my investigation.
So now
Obviously,
the cop has her back.
we're here for a reason.
He
So go
told
ahead and
her
turn
to
around
take
for
all
me.
of her stuff, and then he took it from her.
Well, I mean, she's going to be handcuffed.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
So right now you're being
Now,
detained,
that was how
and
they
there is a
get
detective that needs to talk
access
to you
to
at the
her
police
bag, right?
department. So we'll let your husband know. No, he can just come to the police department as well if he wants to wait for you there.
I'm like.
I get it. You have a lot of questions.
So scared.
Yeah, everything's okay. We just need to talk
Here's
to you.
a white
That's all,
woman in
that's all.
distress. Here we
Nothing
go.
else on your pocket right now? Anything else?
Just my phone.
Just your phone?
Here.
Okay. Okay. All right, ready. Sit in the back of this car. On the other side. Once you get to the police department, you'll talk to the detective and he'll explain everything to you.
But you can't even give me like an idea.
At the moment,
what this is about.
Other than that it's an investigation, that's all I can really tell you right now. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more.
Is he coming with me?
We'll let him know right now.
Charges over an alleged sexual relationship
So
with a
that
student.
was the initial arrest, and then we also have the video of when she's actually in the car, because I thought that was pretty interesting too, just as a case study in psychopathy.
Yeah.
I also want people to watch this video and watch the way the cops are handling Shorty and ask yourself, if Vincent, God forbid, alhamdulillah, but if Vincent was in this situation, would this, or if Applejack, my brother AJ Applejack, was in this situation, would police treat my ugly black ass the same way? Let's continue. Let's continue. We continue. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna put your seatbelt on, right? Unless you're able to reach it down there. Sure you don't want a tissue or something?
I'm feeling I'm gonna throw up.
You want a bag?
Yes, please.
Alright. Shauna, can you grab which bag out of there? Hey, can you get like a bag just in case she gets nauseous? Yeah. I don't know, do we have any of those emesis bags like laying around the spot? I figure something better than nothing. Or here, if you stay with her, I'll go grab it.
This is when you said you're so stressed out for this lady.
I feel stressed out again. Like the cuffs, the panic, like to have a panic attack while you're wearing cuffs.
She's not. Yeah. I hear you, but you feel stressed for her.
I do.
But if this was a dude,
I wouldn't. I'd
who
be
was
like,
having a panic attack,
what is he doing? Like,
you'd be like, you should have thought of that shit when you did that to the kid.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I was got a little tight. I'm like, oh, you feel panic for the white lady?
Yeah, he did.
Hunter, bro, can we get done the actual story? You can call in, we can have a conversation, but we're trying to get the story done. We got 2 more videos to watch. Chill out. We continue.
Necessarily. I think it's the you're trying to crunch up and go to the fetal position type situation.
What the fuck?
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. Oh. Right here? Yeah.
Shut up. That's essentially.
I can get the other one.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
She like after she has like that like hyperventilating like situation, she then gets like really like, and it almost looks like, I don't know. It's a weird look.
Getting arrested sucks, but this is 100% her knowing she got caught. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. That is not the what? You know what? I cannot imagine what this could be. You know, like that would happen with a regular suburban white lady.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it keeps saying raping on the screenshot. It wasn't forced, so why is it classed as rape? It would be statutory rape is the idea. The idea is that a minor cannot consent. That's the idea. So even if the minor says they want to go along with it, the law says we don't care. The statute is you don't get to do that to a 15-year-old because we don't believe that a 15-year-old can consent. So it's called rape for that reason. Good question.
Yeah. I mean, I want to talk about the text messages.
Go.
Oh, you ready? Are you gonna play it?
Well, yeah.
We have that other video.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the text
So apparently,
messages.
the mother found explicit text messages while setting up a new iPhone for her son in March of 2025.
Jeez.
She signed it into his iCloud account, which synced previous messages.
Right. So she wasn't going through his phone. You know. Ian says, "Gonna be super honest. I'm finding it really hard to feel sorry for this person. I know she's crying and upset and all, but she's 100% for herself because she's in trouble rather than being repentant."
Right. I mean, yeah, definitely.
Well, that's kind of the point of the show, which is to say, Ian's like, man, I'm struggling feeling sorry for this person. But if the roles were reversed, I'm specifically talking to you, Ian, if this was a dude, a 30-year-old man who had done this to a 15-year-old female child, would it even cross your mind to feel that you should feel sorry for a 30-year-old man who had done such a thing who is crying in the back of a cruiser.
It would have made me more mad to see him crying, but yeah.
Right. It would have made everybody, I think, more angry. Like, oh, you're crying now, or maybe it would have been some Schadenfreude, like, good, cry.
100%.
And Applejack brought up a real interesting point. He says that women in prison who are convicted of sexual assault of minors hang out in Gen Pop, no problem. Gen Pop is everybody. But if you're a man with that on your jacket, you got to go into PC, protective custody.
That's interesting.
Because dudes will get at you. Dudes, they don't care. They don't know who you are. They don't care who you are. That's one of the first things that happens when you get jammed up and when you get into prison as a convict. They'll say, okay, they'll have to look at it. And if you have that on your jacket, it's either you got to go to PC or you got to get the big guy in the thing to take all your commissary and whatever to protect you.
Yeah.
But dudes are absolutely gonna get at you, and so that just demonstrates, the difference in society between the way that they handle those situations.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like Class 2 felony in Illinois, which is aggravated criminal sexual abuse. The penalty is usually 3 to 7 years in prison, or a fine of up to $25,000. If the victim is under 18, this is a more severe offense, which it was. Typically carries a sentence of 4 to 15 years in prison with no probation allowed in many cases involving minors. That's, I can't even believe, I think that the act itself was crazy. I can't believe she did that. I have no respect. I cannot understand. This goes back to, remember I was talking about how when God said to Eve that she was the mother of all living, and at that point it was the angels, the animals, and Adam, and then she was obviously about to have children, but that the concept that's what women are in the world, that we are to be the mother of all living. So you're not supposed to have a predatory anything toward anybody. You have your intense relationship with your man, and then everybody else, it's okay, I'm supposed to nurture these people all around me. So when she takes on this role, but again, it doesn't say anything about her having any kids. So obviously what she did was crazy, but I can't even understand what. There is nothing that I think, aside from protecting my own family, that is worth going to jail for 4 to 15 years. Was that child?
You got a big fear of prison.
Think about it though. Being with this kid is worth 4 to 15 years in jail. What? That's crazy to me. I can't even understand.
Yeah, it's
I don't understand.
A pretty ridiculous,
Female teachers convicted of sexual misconduct with students often receive lighter sentences compared to the male offenders. Some have received probation with mandatory sex offender registration, would be 6 years probation in New York. Jail sentences can range from 90 days to several years depending on plea deals and mitigating factors.
I think that this woman is more concerned about the societal backlash
of what she's
than the prison time. Especially the way she was sitting in the car like that. I wish we'd been able to show the audience, but I don't believe that this woman is afraid of jail. I really don't. I think that this woman is afraid of what people are going to think of her. That kind of narcissistic, oh my God, I'm being arrested in front of my neighborhood, all the rest of it. It was clear that that's what she was worried about. She's I'm willing to go with you, right?
Yeah.
She didn't want to get cuffed in front of her neighborhood. You could tell that was her real problem.
That is.
You don't agree, or what do you think?
No, I think that you're right, because I would have been more upset about the cuffs going on me than what the neighbors were thinking about it. But yeah, I just can't even.
All right, so here is the actual nature and discussion of what was going on. Right, she's going to women's prison. She has nothing to be afraid of.
You're separated from the people that you love, and you're stuck inside of a building.
She loved a 15-year-old, right?
Yeah.
You're saying that because you're projecting yourself there. You're gonna be away from me, your 7 kids, all this.
Yeah, I can't even.
Same deal with abusive females in a relationship. Yeah, I wish we had one of my homies from Ausland to talk about that one. Ian says 1 indiscretion and had it thrown out of court. What?
What happened?
I gotta figure that out.
Yeah, and I'm
gonna post a link to where folks can come in and actually talk about your perspective, your experience, whatever you want to say. This is crazy.
Here, I'm sending you the. Oh, why is the not showing the airdrop option for you? Okay, here. You can accept that, and that's gonna show the video.
Okay, guys, we're gonna show the second half to the video when she was jammed up in the cruiser, because I do think it kind of is a good window into her mental state, I think.
I would prefer that my husband's with me.
Of course.
Of course, the cop says.
I'm just gonna put your seatbelt on, alright? Shauna, can you grab which bag out of there? Hey, can you get like a bag just in case she gets nauseous? Yeah. I don't know, do we have any of those emesis bags like laying around the spot? I figure something better than nothing. Or here, if you stay with her, I'll go grab it.
What the fuck?
She's having like an anxiety attack
Okay.
while the door is open and the police can see her.
Okay.
Okay? Watch this transformation.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Yep.
Watch this. Look at her.
What's up? Oh, I don't know. Try the very first one. Nope.
Look at that.
Oh, the fourth one?
She's like a stone right now. Look at that face. I mean, she looks angry.
2021 females, 35, county traffic turn. 74137.2. 74137.2. 241, I'll be writing that down.
So, like, I just thought that was crazy. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But giant meltdown, quasi-panic attack. She's asking I need to throw up or whatever. I gotta throw up. Oh, and the cop's like, oh, no, we gotta get this lady some bags. We gotta help her out. And then as soon as they close the door, you count 5 seconds off and she's completely stoic. Like no emotion, no nothing. It was crazy.
I don't know what you read in that information.
Well, what I'm reading for that is one is we've joked about this for years, white women in distress, where they understand their effect on women. I mean, white women in this culture, I believe, understand their position and understand the best way to manipulate, especially men. But it also says to me that she's probably a psychopath, because like the emotional range was just so diametrically opposed to each other. Yeah. And I've just never seen that before. That in women, I've never seen that in women, where that is like a switch flipped or something, and she was completely stoic after that.
I mean, okay.
Go ahead. What's your thought? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I've seen people be like go through something like where they're like panicking like that, and then all of a sudden it just switches. Yeah, I've never seen
in trouble.
Under stress.
With such magnitude.
Yeah.
All right.
But I will say, I do think that, like, the whole thing with the door being open and then there's all the panic happening, and then when the door closes and it's almost like, okay, that door is closed, like you're not gonna be able to try anymore with this guy. Then she's like is sitting in the back. I don't know.
She looks like a psychopath to me. Go ahead. What were you saying? Go ahead.
What would somebody that wasn't a psychopath look like in that situation?
Well, if she was crying, I don't imagine that a regular person who is panicked and terrified could their emotions would shut down like that in a second. I mean, I've seen people in some pretty terrible situations where it's like, your life is never going to be the same after this, no matter what happens. She's 30 years old, so she knows how social media works. She knows she's going to be all over Twitter, especially because of the way she looks. She knows that this is going to blow up. So she knows her life is never going to be the same. So I've seen people in that moment where it dawns on them like, yo, not necessarily your life is over, but your life is never going to be the same. This is the first time I've seen a female react that way.
I'm sure it's not just her social media and but she's married for 6 months to this guy, and he doesn't know anything about what she's been doing. She's been carrying on and all this. That means she was planning the wedding, and while she's planning the wedding with homeboy, she's doing that with that kid.
Right, because if they've been married for 6 months, she was doing this for 2 years when he was 13, when she was 28.
Come on.
So, I mean, it's crazy. Do sociopaths or psychopaths even cry? Yeah, they can cry. They can turn on the waterworks if it's going to get them somewhere. If it's going to get them some sort of benefit, they can turn on and turn off all ranges of emotions. But yeah, man, I mean, God Almighty. I mean, look, I'm not a psychologist or whatever, but I just think it's absolutely crazy. Go ahead.
Well, but my thought when she gets like that is that first she was being like doing like the, feeling bad for herself for the situation she was in. But then when she gets hard looking like that, to me, it was like she flipped a switch on that kid. Like, he's the reason. Because we're going to get into some of these text messages, and you'll see, like, it's kind of weird. Like, some of the stuff that she put in her...
It is very strange.
In her journal. Like,
it's very
that
strange.
To me is, like, even more, like you're saying, evidence of, like, something's really weird here. Because even in this, she's... Well, let's
Well... I wanted to read what Ian says. No fucking way I suffer from panic attacks and they are fucking debilitating. There is zero way her breathing went from being that erratic to that calm that quickly. She was performing 100%. It takes minutes to come down from a panic attack. Yeah, I mean, I agree. And of course, there's a dichotomy between anxiety attack and panic attack. But either way... she was clearly, in my view, that was just all performative and manipulative, and she had no concern whatsoever for anybody but herself. I mean, to River's point, that could be disassociation. I've had it happen in high stress environment, full shutdown in the middle of a freak out. I mean, I guess she could be a psychopath. Very good point. To answer Sori's question, there is a fascinating video of a true, genuine sociopath gets caught and interrogated, and he's freakishly calm and matter of fact.
I've seen like interviews, where the person, like, especially because time has passed and you already know that the person was convicted and then it was full blown, but then you see them talking about it before it happened and how like strangely calm some people can be when they're sitting there knowing that there's a body over there that they you know what I'm saying, like it's just it's weird. It's definitely weird when you see people like that, calm like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to go into her what do you call it?
Ugh.
Yeah, we're about to go into the actual information in the video. It's in the based on what she was talking about. It's pretty crazy. Let's check it out. So here are some of the actual messages. Like I said, guys, there's a 15-year-old child involved here, and so I'm not going to post the one that has all the crazy and the hyper focus on details, all the rest of it. I think that's crazy to do. So I'm just going to go here, and we're going to have this girl read the. Here we go. What did I just do?
You moved it somewhere. Oh man, mother immediately reported the text. March 16th.
Wait.
Okay, so she was arrested on March 16th, 2025.
Who was? I think we got
this
it.
arrest happened on March 16th. It takes a while for everything to get released.
2 weeks ago.
I'm not sad. I'm mad. I let a 16-year-old F with me like that, and I made a promise to myself that I will never, ever let any guy F with me like that again. Ever. Is an alleged excerpt from the notes app from Christina Formella's phone that was seized during her arrest. So yeah, if you thought that the texts were bad, the stuff from the notes app is insane. So at the beginning of the document says around 2:46 p.m. on March 16th, 2025, detectives conducted a traffic stop on the defendant, Christina Formella, and took her into custody and seized her phone. Detectives later searched her phone and found a memoir in the notes section of her iPhone. And get this, it was last updated at 10:45 a.m. on March 16th, 2025, the very same day that she was arrested. I, once again, from day one, called your next girlfriend. Then list who the victim's girlfriend is currently.
It must have been part 2. Okay, I promise I will do better next time. What the heck?
Good. Be back. Type 22 if we have returned. Surfing. Hey, Kevin. Can you hear us? Anybody? Can anybody hear us?
No, the one with the text messages was at the end of that video footage. Remember, it was the woman in that. No? I actually don't know which one it is.
It wasn't the text messages. It was her notes app. All the stuff she had that big long paragraph where she was complaining about him on the notes app.
I don't remember which one.
Well, you know what? It looks like everybody's still frozen here, so I'm just gonna kill this thing and do a part 2 or something.
Okay, good.
Oh nope, everybody's back. 22. Very good. You could just go in your histories, babe.
Yeah, I think I am in the histories.
Okay, talk to the people.
Yeah, so this entire situation, like, I usually don't go on TikTok, but I jumped on a TikTok and I saw, oh no, I know what it did. It came across in the shorts. I was watching YouTube shorts, and I was like, oh, I wonder why this lady's getting arrested. And then I started watching because, I've told Vinny this. That is, like, to me, like, the idea of getting arrested and being I don't like the idea of, like, okay, you are now in somebody else's control. And I've been on the other side where I hear the police talk about people that are being arrested or have been arrested. And, I mean, even in the medical field, like, this might sound a little wild, but when I worked in the medical field in Maine, when we had the patients come in, now the patient wheels in, they look all crazy because they've had some accident or whatever, and they're in a Johnny, so you can't really tell. That's the little cloth thing that you wear when you're at the hospital. So they're in that. You can't really tell anything about them, whatever. So what would happen was the family members, when they would come visit, there are people at the hospital, word would spread all over the place. So if somebody shows up in like sweats with crazy hair and they're visiting their family member, then they don't take that patient as seriously. Somebody else shows up in a suit, then they assume the person has money and can get legal if they need to. And so they would tell us all, like, Joe Schmo in room over there, like, make sure that he's getting like top-notch service because his son showed up and he was in a full-piece suit. And I'm like, wow, that's so crazy. And like the one of the times the family members bought lobster subs for all of the nurses, and in that case also he got better care, even though he was a horrible patient, like horrible, like the normal things that people take care of themselves, like he was not taking care of it himself just because there was people there that were going to end up taking care of it. It was just really anyway. So that was like, seeing that side of things like kind of made me be like, oh, okay, like things are a little bit different over here. And the same thing, like when you hear behind the scenes when you're talking to people in a position of authority dealing with a criminal, it's almost like the criminal becomes worthless and not not a citizen. Like, well, that's kind of one of the reasons why I like the scripture where it talks about both men and women being made in the image and likeness of God. That means it doesn't matter if you're in jail or if you're, on the side of the street and you have no home, or you're in a palace somewhere. Like, everybody is in the same place, and it doesn't matter how much capital or whatever that you can collect in this life. It really comes down to how are you treating the people who have no power around you. And so anyway, so when you're seeing the police talking about like the people in jail, or the way that they treat them like they're beneath them, like that they're nothing, and then the people in the prison will react back, and it's sort of like this power, nobody wants to be treated like that. So when I'm seeing like this woman getting arrested, I'm like, I don't even know how I was going to tie that in, but I was.
Were you explaining why you felt some compassion for her? Is that where you were going?
I don't know. I just know that, like, when I saw her getting arrested, I was like, okay, what is going on? I mean, oh no, that's what it was coming down to. Why I would stop on a video like that is because I would not want to be arrested. And so I'm looking at this sort of regular looking woman getting arrested. I'm like, what's happening? And then the story unfolds, and it's like getting crazier by the minute. But I do agree with you that I am, like, I think the word would be disgusted with her for doing that with a child. But if it was a flip and the sex was mixed, and the teacher was male and the student was female, I would be disgusted, but I would be more angry than disgusted. Well, I mean, I would be disgusted too, but I'd be really angry. You would be
murderously angry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I do think that is really weird, like, to just be honest about that and say, and even when you're looking at, like, okay, if you're a female and this is your first account, like, they're gonna, give you more of a slap on the wrist on it.
She's on paid leave right now, by the way.
She's on paid leave?
She's on paid leave right now.
Okay.
Can you imagine? Here we go, guys. Check this out.
I'm the best thing you'll ever have, even with all my mistakes. You, once again, waited and strung me along.
No, it's not.
No, it's not?
I'll show you later. Okay. Here is... The cops found this in her phone, in her notes app. Here we go.
Thing you'll ever have, even with all my mistakes. You, once again, waited and strung me along until it was convenient for you. It broke me last time. This time, it changed me. I'm not sad. I'm effing mad that I let a 16-year-old F with me like that. And I made a promise to myself that I never will let any guy F with me like that again, ever. In the end, we both lost. You lost the girl who would have stuck with you through thick and thin, who would have changed anything about herself to make you happy. And I lost the person I was before I met you. And then under a section titled Manifestations, they found an excerpt that read, blank, the victim, is going to reach out to me soon and try to fix things between us. In the meantime, I'm going to live my best life knowing he's not the person I thought he was.
So
she was trying to manifest him to reach back out to her?
She's talking about this like they were college buddies or something. This is a 15-year-old child.
She sounds like she's also a 15-year-old child.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even say college.
Yeah, and you know, you're going to go back to your ex-girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not second to anybody. It's just a really crazy, very strange situation to me. Like this person's mindset. And then, of course, I assume, like, if that happened to me, I mean, that would never happen. But if that happened to me, I would be obsessive about, like, all of these videos. I'd be like, what the hell's going on? And
Wait, which part happened to you?
If I was the husband in this situation.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, like, the cops, apparently the cops showed him all of that in the notes app or whatever, which must have completely destroyed him because, I mean, good night. I mean, that right there is, how do you recover from that?
I don't know, man.
How, and she said when they had her in the back of the cruiser, she's like, I want my husband, you know, I want to see my husband, yada, yada, yada. So she's already got a packet of lies, whatever you want to call them, I'm assuming, for this man. And I just think it's pretty crazy to me.
Well, I mean, she already gave a packet of lies to us by saying that it's because she's attractive, people go after her, that he went into her phone and sent all those messages to himself to blackmail her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is frustrating, such a double standard. A predator is a predator, and one should be treated the same. Imagine a man saying that about a 15-year-old girl. It's so fucked. I have zero sympathy. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I do think it touches on something in our culture. I think gender is the first category, but I definitely believe that race is a category. I also believe that pretty privilege is a category here. How in the world does that school decide... Yeah,
we're gonna do paid leave.
Let's give this woman paid leave. That means, you know what that means? That means that the city is taking money out of the community chest to pay this woman.
That's insane.
Which would also include the victim's mother.
Right.
Right.
She married her husband, a former baseball player from Concordia University, Chicago, in August of 2024. So they haven't even been married a year yet.
August, September, October,
6
November,
months.
December, January, February, March. So about 8 months.
8 months.
But she was doing this to this kid
well before
since he was 13 and she was 28.
That's why I said when they were planning their wedding, she was still...
Which is, yeah, I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hunter says, people give the church a bad rap, and rightfully so, but this stuff happens far more in public schools than at the church. But guess who's constantly on the news and who isn't? I think that's fair. I think that's a fair criticism. I do think that's a fair criticism. The only thing that I will say, though, about the church versus public school is that the institution of the public school does not present itself as the body of Jesus Christ. Now, when we're talking about the Catholic priest issue, the other part of that is not only is the Catholic Church claiming to be the one true church on earth, but the Latin term for Catholic priest is alter Christus, which means another Christ. The priests in the Catholic Church claim to be another Jesus on the earth, and that carries with it an eternal authority over the minds and the souls of those people.
Yep.
Whereas if this kid turns 18, and later on she said basically, you know, you were supposed to turn 18, we were supposed to get married when you were 18, whatever.
But she was married to somebody else.
Right, but my point is about the authority structure.
Yeah, sorry.
Those things can eventually you will never balance out with a Catholic priest because he's an alter Christus and you're a layman. So that power dynamic is always going to be there. And so the other thing is that Catholic priests are supposed to be celibate. And so there is a certain higher trust factor. This person's going to be celibate. So I agree the football coaches, the gymnasts coaches, the all those people are much more likely to do this and do it at a higher rate statistically. But I still think I'm glad
I see where you're
that there is a heavier focus on the church, because we are making claims about ourselves that the secular public school is not.
Yeah.
And we have deeper degrees of authority over the people than a teacher or a student. So I get it. I agree with it. I just think that I think it's good that we get held to a higher standard, because that tells me that at some level the secular zeitgeist is like, you guys should know better, right? So that's how I look at it. Also, the church is more silent, as Reese says. Reese Nance, good to see you, buddy. I do think that there's also we're upset that the school board is paying this girl, but it's a fact. Even the Pope that I currently like, everybody likes him. He also took part in hushing this up and moving bishops and priests all over the place. JP2, who was immediately canonized, John Paul II, he moved bishops all around. He shut kids up, did all types of horrible shit. So that's the other thing, is that we're mad that the school is paying this woman's leave. And I believe there's probably going to be an outcry, because this just came out yesterday, and they're probably going to cut her paid leave. But at the same time, the Catholic Church not only was paying these bishops, but moving them around so they could assault more children.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Are we doing the text messages?
Or
do you want me to just read that?
Yeah. Let's do the text messages. Go for it.
Over here, or you have it?
Well, take a screenshot and send it to me. I'll put it up on the screen. So here are some text messages, guys. And again, like, I'm not. We've got to be smart about how we do it, because this is a 15-year-old child. But here are the text messages, so that you can see kind of between these people. It's pretty freaking crazy.
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah, there you go. This is just some of them, but
You just send them to. Did you eardrop them? Where did you send them?
I did. I sent it through text over here. Let me just double check that I didn't send that to. Who knows? Oh, it just went. You should get it soon.
Okay.
All right. So Vin's gonna bring that up. There it is. Boop. Vin's gonna bring that up on the screen, and I'm gonna read it, because I definitely have something to say about that.
You do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, what a world we're in, man. All right, here we go.
Okay. So it says the victim's mother discovered explicit text messages between Formella and her. Formella reminds me of formaldehyde. Formella and her son while setting up his new phone. Messages including declarations of love and graphic references to sexual encounters, such as Formella allegedly writing, "I love having sex with you." Police found a memoir in Formella's phone notes app where she allegedly expressed anger at the victim for cheating on her and called him disgusting. This is what I'm saying, when he was in the car and all of a sudden, like, she was like hyperventilating, and then all of a sudden she was like stoic.
You're saying she was angry at him.
Uh-huh. Ew, shoot, did I miss that other piece? I wanted to get the part where it said... Okay, right here. I'm going to send this one to you also. This part, it just really...
Yeah, you look like you got pretty mad about that part.
This is the one that, yeah, it's... And this is where I feel like very disgusted by it. And I, like, being that I'm a Christian and, like, everybody's a sinner... Like, there's a part of me that, like, it's hard for me to, like, judge somebody else. But then I'm like, yeah, but look at what you did. But, just lean on Jesus. Because, my God.
I guess.
Okay, so this, you got...
Yeah, I got her. Yeah.
Okay, So it says, this is a key evidence that was found. Messages included, I love you so much, baby. Even though this morning was short, it was perfect. I love having sex with you. Whoops, right there. The student allegedly replied with intimate details, calling Formella mama and describing their encounters. That to me is, because my theory in it is that does a kid that has a good, strong relationship with both their mother and their father, because I think that it is very important for a child to have a balanced feminine and masculine energy to develop them. And I think that the absence of one or both of those in a healthy way creates issues for them later in life.
That's a fact.
So when, like, I just think it's weird, and this is a personal preference of mine, but I think it's weird for, like, grown people to call each other names like daddy and mama in those situations, but you two grown people do what you want. But this type of situation, it's like literally you could have been his mom and by the age. And so, like, he's calling her mama, she's calling him baby. It's just weird to me. And honestly, like, that part
Definitely
was the part that I was like,
very incestuous vibes.
what is
there,
happening
for sure.
here? Like, this is just so, like, I can't even, that to me is like, okay, if she's going to engage in a situation like that, she doesn't have the self-awareness that letting him call her mama is weirder than weird? Like, the situation already was that, and you just like...
I mean, there were situations that went down in the classroom. Like, in the actual classroom. So I think we've crossed that bridge.
Well, the in the
I think
classroom...
Shorty's crossed the bridge already.
I know... You know, this is going to be controversial, but there was different... I couldn't tell you what... You know what? Let me find out.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter's got a good point. He says, that's really disturbing. What if the kid really truly saw her as a mother figure?
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I think... And I think that would be
perfect.
true, yeah.
He got it, yeah, Hunter got that perfect, yeah. Yeah, that and that's the emotional part of it, too. You don't hear much about the dad, and oftentimes what happens with single moms, and this is all just speculating, but through all the research we've done on this particular case, you don't hear much about the dad. And so what ends up happening with single moms a lot of the times is that they've got to do double duty. And a lot of that double duty has to do with you got to be the dad and the mom. And so there's a certain kind of hardness that single mothers end up having, and the nurturing, they don't get to be completely nurturing. You know, like what happens with her and I, you know, one of the kids gets in trouble, she's allowed to be as nurturing as she wants to be, and then I'm coming in with the masculine energy saying, well, you got to pay, nigga. Mm-hmm. So, like my mom, she had a certain kind of hardness about her because she was a single mom. Mm-hmm. And they had to do double duty.
Yeah.
And you've got teenagers, and then your teenagers are starting to rebel because they're about to be adults themselves, but they're still adolescents. And so there's all of this, like, you know, it's difficult. And so now you've got this mother, presumably, that might be a little bit hard, a little bit less nurturing than normal.
Oh, that is
See what I'm saying?
Sad. Yeah.
And even when you look at what happened, like, she marched that boy. She saw the text and put him in the car, and she marched him straight to the police department, and no mention of the father.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's very strange.
Yeah.
If the dad was in the house, you would figure there'd be, even if the dad was at work, come home right freaking now.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that this woman is a single mom doing her best. And here comes this lady, and she's getting $88,000 a year. She's just married, so she can be as nurturing as she wants to be, right? And so that mama dynamic,
that's
where he's missing out on that.
So valid.
He's missing out on that, and then she goes and provides that, and then sexualizes it.
Jeez.
It's pretty horrible.
I was gonna say, like, I remember, and you know what, the stuff that we were able to watch when I was growing up was quite limited. But even in our limited whatever, I still saw, maybe it was like a comedy, or where they would have scenes where there would be like a teacher that was very attractive, and the student falls in love with her, and there's something, but they don't really focus on like how morally wrong or the exploitation of it, and it almost is presented as like this sort
But does
of like
the teacher go along with it? The teacher doesn't go along with it. The kid daydreams about the teacher, but
that's true. Right.
The teacher
It's
doesn't
more
go
of a-
along with
It's more
it.
of a daydreaming thing. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that is like...
And there's no association with the person's mom.
No.
Like the
no,
kid's not
no.
calling the teacher mama, and and she's calling him baby and all that shit.
Does she have... I guarantee she has no...
There's no way she has children. There's no way. There's no mention of her children. Nah, she doesn't have children. Because you know what? The headlines would be teacher, mom of 3, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Because they like to up the scandal. I can get that. My dad died 3 days before my 5th birthday, so having a single mom with 3 kids, seeing her with shit men in her life taught me how not to be. She didn't do the best job, but she tried. But yeah, like, it's impossible. That's a situation. Like, you cannot... you don't even have to be theological about this. We've evolved such that we cannot reproduce unless we have a female and a male. Mm-hmm. And so, if you cannot reproduce without a female and a male, how do you expect then to grow that being without the 2 people that it was necessary? So it's like it's necessary to bring them into the world, but we can mix and match, and we don't need the dad or we don't need the mom. You've got a lot of women. You see this in the black community, and it's one of the things about the angry black woman or the hard black women. Shout out to Joe Biden. A lot of our men ended up in prison in the 90s, and you saw a generation of very hardened women who had to face the exigencies of life by themselves while raising kids. Mm-hmm. If you listen to Tupac's Dear Mama, this woman had to work 2 jobs, all type of shit. She resorted to drugs, all type of shit. Running from the police, that's right. Mama catch me, put a woman to my backside. Like, your dad is supposed to fuck you up for getting fucked up by the police as a man, as a young man. But Tupac's mother had to do that.
Yeah.
And so, like, what she should have been able to do is after the dad gets done, she should have been able to say, "You're still my baby, yada, 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 but you're crazy as hell, and your dad is right."
Yeah.
And so, like, this kid, it looks to me like dad's not around, and this woman swooped in and completely took advantage of his mommy issues. Mm-hmm. Which is really interesting, because at the beginning of the broadcast, I was talking about how this guy took advantage of this girl's daddy issues.
Yep.
So it's not like predatory, I'm going to lock the door, you can't get out. It's who, I'm scanning the room and seeing who is the vulnerable person out of the broken home that I can then have this sort of parallel relationship with, relive my teenage years, because she sounds like a teenager.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
I think the other thing too is, again, if you have no children,
ask if they divorced.
If you have no children, I'm sure it's very new. If you have no children, then you don't realize this. But when you have lots of children, your relationships with your kids, they do like this, just like every other relationship. So there's
true.
like times where you're like, you just vibing really good with them, and then there are other times where there's like a bit of a distance, and like from your heart you love them to death and you want them to, but sometimes they have to grow past certain things. Sometimes you have to grow past certain things, and but ultimately
sometimes you both have to grow in your understandings of how you guys relate to each other.
Yeah, and so
I went to war. I was at war with one of my kids last year. Like, it was war.
Hard, yeah.
And so like, it's true. And again,
it's like, okay, you don't have any kids, so you don't know what it's like to, like, from the second that you find out, or like from the very first few weeks you find out that you're pregnant with this kid, you toil for them. You are sick, you are exhausted. Then after all the 9 months, you birth this child into the world through pain and blood, sweat and tears, and then you raise them, and like, yeah, they're cute as can be, but you know what? They have a sinful heart, and they're gonna try you on your nerve. They're gonna test the limits, the boundaries, and you're gonna try to show them, like, okay, this is life, but at the same time, this is love, and you're like, you're doing this with your kid while at the same time, like, you thought when you were a kid that when your parents were adults, they had everything figured out, but then you become an adult yourself and you realize, like, oh, we're all still working out stuff. And so you're working on yourself and working on and being there for them. And so, like, it's this relationship that it requires a lot, but it's a beautiful relationship. And I love my relationship with all of my kids. And, like, that is another thing that I think makes me angry about this teacher is you sit there with no children of your own, I'm presuming, and then you take advantage of this because, like I said, if the relationship does this, you might have had a good relationship with his mother, but it's at a point where it's not so good. And it's in that time that instead of coming beside another woman and helping him, like what she was supposed to be doing, because he was there for tutoring, because I guess he broke his collarbone or something. I don't know. He ended up in her tutoring class. And while he's there, instead of her saying, oh, there's some lack here because the kid is needing something more of the feminine that his mother wasn't able to give maybe at that time. And instead of, like, just coming beside it and helping the development of this boy, instead she takes advantage of it. And like you said, she sexualizes it. And, like, a lot of times love and sex can get confused in the mind of people because you want something that's deep, but then when somebody takes it to that level, like, I don't know what's going to happen with that kid. Like, I don't know if eventually he's going to, like, maybe at this point he's like, oh, and he feels no, like, negatively, like, nothing negative about it, but they're given time, and when you start aging yourself and then you relook at things, you're like, how could this have happened, you know? So he might not feel taken advantage of at this point, but give it some years and who knows what he's gonna feel about it. But she was dead wrong for this.
I mean, he's 13
at the time. He's 15 now,
so it's very likely that was his first sexual experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one of the things about, especially when you're about 13, about to hit puberty, there's such a contradiction in the mind of these survivors, because on the one hand, it's like, this is clearly wrong. This person had all the power. I had no power. But the other side of it, which you mentioned earlier, which is, look, man, the body reacts to stimuli. And this is one of the most insidious things that these abusers do, is they'll say, you wanted it.
Yeah.
Because the child's body reacted to it. And it's like, look, if you put your hand on a hot stove, the body's going to react to it. It's like there's and some of you have probably been through this. There is a difference between what your body reacts to, what your mind and soul is ready for, and what you wanted, especially as a child.
Yeah.
Kids want. I mean, this kid broke his collarbone, probably playing sports, doing boy shit. That was the shit that he was worried about as a 13-year-old, and then here comes this lady doing all types of weirdo shit, and this is probably this kid's introduction to sex and sexuality and the feelings that happen, and this woman's pretty and all the rest of it, and now he's left now with the ramifications of what's going on. And the other thing too is, like, when you're young, you don't really understand how bad things are.
Yeah.
So now he's gonna see all of the outcry, and he's going to start going, what the fuck, right? On the other hand, it may very well be that all his friends are like, holy shit, bro. Yo, you're the man, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's one of the things that's, like, really, really difficult. So Seek Truth is saying he's 17 now. I'm not really sure how that helps, but...
The crazy thing, too, is because you know how she put on her manifestations that he was going to call her and stuff? So that means he was already putting a stop to this situation.
Yep.
And she wanted to manifest it back into her life.
Mm-hmm.
So that means he already has feelings about it, like, bro, this isn't...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've got 13, 15, and 17. Thank you, Seek Truth. But what a horrible situation for this kid, man. But again, I would say that he probably, in my high school, it would have been a spike the football, you're a legend type moment situation. But I think what Jay's been saying has been the thing is a lot of people have had a real issue with the way, I mean, she's got paid leave, you know, all the rest of it. And I think that's the part that's bothering a lot of dudes in the chat. Just why is this double standard so stark?
Yeah.
You know, this is not like somebody in the neighborhood randomly inviting the kids for cookies and milk, where you can avoid that house. Like I, as a parent, right? You can say avoid that house. That dude's a weirdo. That woman's a weirdo. We heard things about her. This is school. This is what you call a captive audience, right? And it's like, if this dude's mom was a single mom, then even worse, right? Because she doesn't have the time to vet every single teacher that's in her kid's life.
Yep.
You know? It's just a horrible situation all around.
There's like, you know, hopefully I can remember how to connect this after I've been talking for a little bit. But when one of the things when I experienced my miscarriage, like there's a whole realm of people that want to say it's okay to abort a child, right? And so those people are going to say that the baby is not a baby when it's inside the womb. And so you have all of this that's being thrown out into the zeitgeist. And then when a woman loses her child before its due date, then there's this sort of, okay, so how loud can she mourn about it? Because you guys have been saying it's not even a baby this whole time. So it puts you in this sort of weird situation. And like this, how can I express the pain that I feel when people are saying this is, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just it's a hard time. And you know, there's sometimes, you know, probably there's more out there now than there was when I went through that. But when you look at this kid's situation, it's like you said, like maybe his boys are saying, yeah, rah, 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 you're the man. But inside, he doesn't feel like, maybe because he stopped it and she was trying to manifest it. And his mom didn't know about it. So why did he stop it? What's going on with him? Like maybe he's feeling like we've talked about it. Sexuality is like this beautiful and amazing thing. And it's meant to bring life, not just physically, but soulishly and spiritually. Like it's supposed to build and lift up. And like he's in this situation where this box of sexuality gets opened, but it's not being opened up in the best way, which would be, you know, if he had an ongoing loving relationship with a woman that he was going to build with, and you know, be married and be together, you know. But like
it looks like in their discussions back and forth that
there was discussion about
the kid kept breaking up with her.
Yeah.
And then coming back and breaking up and coming back, and that's why she. You know, so it looks to me like the kid was trying. He had a girlfriend. Yeah. You know? And so it looks to me like the kid was trying to break it off with this person who had clear the power dynamics. But this is what we're talking about. Like, this is why you make those things statutory. So that the kid doesn't have to, you know, get interrogated in court. Because if you didn't have this as a statute, that kid would have to show up in court and prove that this was forced upon him and he tried to get out of the way and he couldn't. And the other thing, too, is we don't really talk about this. I remember one time in New York, one of our teachers had a meltdown because we were all horrible. And he failed everybody. He's like, you got... And he literally had a nervous breakdown and he failed everybody. Thankfully, the school board came back and said, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. But then it was this weird thing because, like, well, what are you going to do? The school year's over. And so everybody basically got like a 90 or something like that year, which we really sucked for the overachievers because the overachievers were like, you know, I'm trying to get into Bronx science, you know? Bronx science, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, that's the other thing. This teacher has power over your grades. And you're in high school. Right, so
and he was a sports person.
That's the other side of it. It's like, dude, you're in high school. This individual has power over your grades and, you know, other things. It's like, wow, man. Yeah. Like it's just a completely insane dynamic. Yeah. And it's tough to see somebody in that situation. Yeah. But here we are.
But that's like to finish the point that I was making is that he's tried to break it off multiple times, which means he might already be feeling like this isn't right for me. And like you said, like his boys might be rah and she's beautiful, so a lot of people might be like, well, man, but inside, you know what I'm saying? Like, where does he have that space to be able to be like, yeah, but I don't feel good about this. Doesn't feel like it felt good, but it doesn't feel good, And I just think that, especially because he's a male and she's a female, that puts him in a situation where he's not going to be possibly able to work through it.
I see.
In the court of public opinion,
that's
because
like
everybody's going to be like, hey,
the miscarriage thing,
right?
Is
so
that
that's
the
the
zeitgeist?
comparison, yeah,
right? So he's not going to be able to really even understand himself, what's going on with himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I think we've pretty much exhausted this point as much as I'd like. Larry, do you? My phone is currently the camera. How do you want to get on and talk about your situation, Larry? Before we jump off, give you a chance to ventilate about the situation. I mean, my God, that was really well said. That was a very, very good analogy. There's just a lot of angles to this situation. Like, the more we talk, the worse it gets.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Yep.
The more we talk about it, the worse it looks like.
So did we come with a? Let me engage with the audience. Start it. Okay.
Please check your emails, Feb 2025. Got some pics too. You'll be surprised, I promise. I will be checking it for sure.
Oh, is that Kai?
No, that's Kevin Hall.
Oh.
New Jack.
Is he coming on?
Larry? I want to give him some time. An NP sweat lodge. Interesting. I've never heard of an NP sweat lodge before. I've heard of a sweat lodge.
Yeah.
But he's Larry, the big homie, is a native.
Oh, okay. Here you go, guys.
They got numerous things. What did you put?
Do you feel she should be prosecuted to the full extent? Yes, no, or it's not that big of a deal to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's. What do you think? See, to me, for cases like this, where the age gap is so stark, like, I don't even understand how there are multiple degrees here. Mm-hmm. How are there multiple degrees of punishment for a crime in this category?
Well, they're saying, like, has it happened before? Like, is this a repeat offender? Like, are there other students involved?
What does it matter?
I think it's how many lives have you ruined?
How does... Well, those things are there. I don't really understand. Like, this used to happen at work where, like, I had a dude one time and he threatened to slap his girlfriend or something like that on the floor. And I said, yeah? You're going to slap her? For real? And, I got him out of there. And I had just gotten a promotion. I was like 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And so I call up HR and I'm like, yeah, this dude's got to go. He just threatened to slap this girl, yada, yada, yada. And they're like, well, has he been warned? How many times has he done this? And I'm like, I don't give a fuck how many times he's done it. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that there are certain crimes where it's like, if you break the social contract to that degree, there should be no variegated sentencing. Like, it should just be, this is a full extent, that's it. You should be, like, right now, there's a woman from Kenya about to get the death penalty in Vietnam because she smuggled like 2 kilos of cocaine into the country. And so, for those guys, they're like, the Vietnamese are like, nah, we don't play around. There's no, like, well... And I'm not saying, like, death... I think the death penalty is pretty extreme. for that. But at the same time, like, I just think, like, the understanding that there are certain crimes where there are no degrees. Like, how can you have degrees of SA, of rape? Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if it was a dude, we would not be having the fullest extent of the law conversation.
No, you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, there should only be one kind of punishment.
Right.
There should only be one kind of punishment for rape and sexual assault. And that includes adults, and it also includes children, obviously. And I am against the death penalty just on the principle of Christianity. But to me, it's like, you should spend the rest of your life in prison. You should lose your life for doing that, because I guarantee you, that's why they call these people survivors. Go ask if there's an updated, was there a plea deal? I think you're still on the thread.
Where? Sorry, here?
Yeah, go and ask if she took a plea deal or something like that. Seek Truth, who seems to have a more of a knowledge of the situation, says she'll take a plea deal, which is probably going to happen. She was arraigned on March 7th. She was arraigned, pleading not guilty to all charges. April 14th, no plea negotiation. Yeah, so she's going for it in court. She's refusing. She pled not guilty about 2 weeks ago. March 17th. It's almost exactly 2 weeks ago.
The thing is, if she didn't have the manifestations notes, and like there was like other ones where she was like, oh, you know, you're basically how she was able to predict who he was going to date next, and he's so easy, so predictable, and like the vindictive or sort of way that she was talking about it, like that tells us that he didn't steal your phone, ma'am, and message himself to blackmail you. Like, why do you have... He also went into your notes and left notes for you about your manifestations?
Yeah, but...
See what I'm saying?
See, I think that she's probably going to get off, to be honest with you. Because it's going to be her word against his. And I'm not sure how text messages work with... Because you know what happens to females. It's like, oh, that happened to you? Well, we're going to do the grape kit, and we're going to check, and we're going to whatever.
Yeah, but you couldn't do it if it was that long ago.
Well, but you can't do that with a guy.
Regardless, yeah.
There's no grape kit for female to male sexual assault with a dude. See what I'm saying? So now we've got text messages, and you know, because at least with the grape kit with the 15-year-old, you can be like, yes, there was sex, yes, there was DNA, whatever. I don't know how that's gonna, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so to me, it's like she didn't take a plea deal. She lawyered up. She obviously can afford a decent lawyer because she makes $88K by herself. We're assuming that her husband, you know, makes commensurate to that. So it's like, I don't know. And that's the thing with court, is that a lot of it is contingent on what kind of lawyer you have.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really, really is.
It also is contingent not just on the quality of your lawyer, or the memory of your lawyer,
yeah,
and competence of your lawyer. It also has to do with how much your lawyer likes you. Because a lawyer that likes you is going to fight harder than one that doesn't really want to, you know.
yeah, I feel you, Applejack. I really do. Hey, Ben Bear in the house. I feel you, Applejack. He says, not go cap. I just don't feel like it's a big deal due to NYC culture. Yeah, I think there's a lot of cultures like that. I told Sawyer, like, if I was 13, that would have been too much. But by the time I was 15, I was already corrupted in New York City. Now, I don't want to say it that way. Like, I took part in the corruption.
Yeah, I mean,
I took part in the corruption. I don't want to say that I was already corrupted by that time, but I was a corrupt child at the time.
I mean,
15 years old.
this is crazy. Now, I was 18 and I was dating someone that was 33. That's a 15-year gap.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had no issue with that gap. But I would say, yeah.
What?
Well, you know, I don't want to throw people under the bus, so I'm going to leave it like that. But I think the points that we've put out in this discussion are relevant. Is what I would say.
I was blown away the first time you told me that. I was like, what? Okay. I feel like everybody in the hood lost their virginity to an older lady. I gotta think about that. That is a thing. I saw a short on that one time where dude was like, that's not normal, that's not natural. But we all kind of did. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm glad, like, because there's a lot of people that are frustrated with this lady, but I also appreciate what AJ is saying, because it's like, we got to be real about stuff, man. Like, if all of us were collectively outraged about this woman, then she wouldn't have gotten paid leave. It just is what it is. So culturally speaking, I don't know if it's for the good or the bad. I don't know if it's a evolutionary adaptive type situation. I don't know what it is, but it's something. The fact that the discussion of if a woman should be charged to the full extent is a problem itself. No one would ever ask if a man... Yeah, nobody would ask if a dude in this particular situation should or could be charged to the fullest extent of the law. And my whole thing is there should be no even option for there to be a graded or a stratified sentencing philosophy for this kind of crime. I just cannot see the logic in that at all. Larry, do you want to have do you want to come on and talk about your experience, or are you good with the sharing that you did here? I would have been getting high fives from the boys, to be honest. Correct. And again, like, I don't know if you know what this teacher looks like, but you know, she's an attractive lady, and I can say that because I've got a very, very attractive wife, so I'm not going to get in trouble. But she was an attractive woman, and this kid at some level is going to achieve kind of legendary status because, you know, he was with this lady, and so I understand both sides of it, man. You know, like I really do. I understand from the dude side, like, hey, you know, like, you're 15 years old and you bagged the teacher, and she's, you know, 30, you know, she's 30 and you're 15, yada yada yada. But man, it's terrible. I wonder how she's going to argue that she's not guilty. I think that she's going to say that it never happened, and I think she's going to say, prove it. Because at the end of the day, you're innocent until proven guilty, and I think what's going to happen is she's going to say, nope, none of that ever happened, prove it. And I think there's going to be a real difficulty in proving it. I think they're probably going to say that's circumstantial evidence. You know, that the text messages are circumstantial evidence. Text messages can be faked or doctored or whatever. And if she has a really good lawyer, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like, but I find it very, very hard to believe that she's going to get jammed up for that. I really, really do. I have a very hard time believing that she's actually going to get convicted here, because it just doesn't seem that there's enough proof. But I mean, I don't know the law. I mean, maybe the text messages are looked at more than circumstantial. But I know for a fact that text messages can be manipulated. It's not difficult to do that. You know what I'm saying? So there's just a lot of things where I'm just very, very skeptical that this woman is gonna get convicted of this crime. Especially if she's a sociopath. I mean, she's gonna pull out all the stops. It's just a crazy part to what we call our justice system, and I don't know, bro. It's finally 67. Vin, that's it. What are we talking about, Applejack? What are we talking about with 67? Gotta remember the late 60s was all love, peace, and happiness. Free love was common. Woodstock. Yeah, I do think that some of this is cultural. I do think that there's a lot of cultures that would shrug at this and say,
he's gonna say goodnight to you.
You want to say goodnight to Daddy? Come here. Come here, you.
Ghosty.
Ghosty. Yep, that's Ghosty.
Yeah. Webbing, yeah.
He's webbing, yeah.
He's webbing?
Yeah.
Is he webbing?
Yeah.
Yeah? Where is Senny? Is Senny here?
Yeah.
Where?
Here.
That's Senny?
Yeah.
Where's Daddy? Is Mommy there? Where's Mommy? Oh, yeah. Good job. Say hi, people.
Hi, people.
Say your prayers before bed.
Hold bed.
Say thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
Okay, say goodnight, everybody.
Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, baby. Good night, baby.
Good night, baby.
You say goodnight, everybody.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, Sunny. You like Ghosty?
Open that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, go. He's webbing like this.
He's webbing like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Say rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
All right. And you say, ready? Say gang, gang, gang.
Gang, gang.
You gotta say it 3 times. Gang, gang, gang.
Gang, gang, gang.
Yeah. Yeah. Say what's up.
Go.
Say what's up.
What's up?
AJ.
AJ.
Say hi, AJ.
Hi, AJ.
Hi, AJ.
Hi, AJ.
Say Uncle AJ.
I got it.
Yeah, you got it.
I got it.
All right. You gotta go. Mashallah. Go to bed.
Go. Hey, Webby. See the ghosty?
Yep, that's Ghosty. Uncle AJ says what's up. He says what's up. He says how are you doing?
Yeah.
You also smell.
Say bye
Good
now.
day.
Bye.
I love you.
Bye, little Bumby. Bye, little Bumby.
Bye.
Hey, the light.
Yeah, the light.
Your parents suspected something, but you're being quiet. You left it alone. Who? Yeah, that's Seneca, Hunter. That's the newest one. The newest one in the tribe. He's very much like his father. Say it that way. What in the world? What's happening?